So last week I attended Author Nation and I spoke to hundreds of authors, indie authors mostly, and I spoke to them about audiobooks. You may be wondering, what is Author Nation or what is the Author Nation conference? If you're familiar with the 20 Books to 50K conference in Las Vegas that happened the last few years, the organizer of that conference decided that due to health reasons, he can no longer do that conference. And so it was bought out by a man named Joe Solari with Author Nation as the new name. And for the most part, it's the same. It's a little more focused, I think, on indie authors rather than just authors in general. But most of the people who were there that I spoke to they didn't consider themselves first timers. They considered themselves like veterans of this conference, as if it's the same conference. And there were a lot of repeat people there. There were quite a few new people as well, like myself. So I thought that talking to authors at this conference would be a good way to find out how authors are feeling about the idea of AI audiobook narration. First of all, I will say that I was told by some other narrators when I was considering going to this conference that they would not be returning because of the amount of AI, I don't want to say propaganda, but like the presence of AI, in the panels and things last year. They didn't like the vibe of that. I decided to go anyway because I think it's a trend that these tech companies are trying to they're trying to make their money back. They've invested a lot into it. Whether they'll be successful or not is another story. So there was one tech company there that was there to sell their services of AI audiobooks. They did a panel, they had a table set up. Their panel was in like one of the smaller rooms. It wasn't like a big, one of the big panels. I didn't go to it. I went to a lot of the other panels, just, genre specific ones like cozy mystery and things like that, and heard those authors talk about their audiobooks and their audiobook success. And I also just talked to a lot of authors. And specifically on the last day, after the whole week, after these authors most of them are there, I feel like, just to talk to each other and learn from each other what works in publishing and what doesn't. And the rave was the last day. That was the big author signing where they invite the public to buy books and all that stuff. So that was a nice way for me to just go from table to table and talk to a ton of authors. I think I talked to about half of them. And I asked each one of them, do you have any audiobooks? And if not, do you plan on producing any audiobooks? And I fully expected a good percentage to say, I plan on creating audiobooks with AI. So there were about 165 authors there that had tables set up. And I went around and I talked to about half of them. And one of them, only one, said, I'm going to make an audiobook. I'm thinking about all of the possibilities. That includes the possibility of AI. Accessibility is really important to me, and I don't know if I can do an audiobook the traditional way right now. So that is an option. Everybody else said they either had audiobooks or they were waiting until it was financially feasible and they could afford to pay an audiobook narrator a good rate, basically. Most of them wanted to do wide distribution, so they wanted to do a per finished hour rate, not a royalty share. Now, I did get home and I did research a lot of these authors and I looked up their audiobooks, and I did find a couple that had done AI audiobooks in the past, but now they have traditional, legit audiobooks as well. And so I'm guessing that maybe they took advantage of the beta test when ACX said, hey, let's do you want to do a beta test and do a AI audiobook? And maybe now they're second guessing after they've seen the reviews. This is just a random virtual voice audiobook I pulled up. It's not one of the authors I met. So my takeaways from Author Nation last week are that authors, just like readers and listeners, want humans with actual emotions, and even actors. Actors tend to have even more emotions, I think, to tell their stories. So if you're an author and you're thinking about, maybe I'll try this, AI thing, I would say wait until you hear at least some success stories. Don't be the guinea pig. Your work is worth a lot more than that. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe or whatever.